Welcome to Make Your Mark podcast, where guests share their experiences, insights, and tactics to help you accelerate your business. So building, scaling, and monetizing your business is made easier. And I will be your host, Kay Suthar. Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of Make Your Mark podcast. Now today I have a really exciting guest for everybody. His name is Paul Gowder. He's the owner and founder of powwows.com, which has been the leading online for the past 25 years. Paul's techniques and skills have enabled him to build one of the world's largest and the most engaging communities in the world. He has also forged a successful path in emerging mediums of blogging, live video streaming, and podcasting. Having experienced the ups and downs of running a successful online community for the past 25 years, Paul helps other entrepreneurs navigate the successes and pitfalls of building an online business through his public speaking and consulting services. Please welcome to the stage, Paul. Oh my goodness, I'm so excited to have you here today.
Thank you so much. I'm excited to talk to you today. Appreciate it.
No worries. Now, before we get into the nitty-gritty, right, of communities and how to build this the right way, I would love for you to share with our listeners today a little bit about what your journey's been like, because I'm sure building a successful business and the community that you have didn't happen overnight. Is that right?
No, I started the website in around 1996, maybe a little before, but that's about when I remember really focusing on it and getting started. I didn't set out to start a business. I wasn't, trying to, I wasn't Mark Zuckerberg in college trying to create the next Facebook. I was just a college kid playing with internet and just having fun building web pages. I never thought it would be a business. I'm really an accidental entrepreneur. So it's been an interesting journey. Most of the last, 27 years now that I've had the business, most of that was, it was a side business. It was something I did, nights and weekends, lunch hours and things like that. So it was only just recently that I was able to retire from my full-time job and dedicate more time to this. So it's been a long journey, but wouldn't change anything. Loved how I got here. So it's been really great.
Wow. Now, you said that basically this happened to you by accident, right? It was just a kind of the path that you found yourself on. So
Yeah.
Tell us, I'm now curious, right? First of all, why were you so excited about building websites and web pages? Like, what was it about that really caught your curiosity?
Yeah. So growing up, I'd always been playing with computer stuff. I remember, and we were actually cleaning out some stuff the other day, and I found some pictures and things from it. As a kid, my parents put me into a thing called, it was called Kids in College. It was a summer program. So I spent like all summer for several years just learning basic programming. So, I always liked tinkering, doing things on computers. And so in grad school, when the whole internet thing was happening, I thought it'd be fun just to try to build a few pages. And so I built some pages about stuff that I knew something about. At the time, I was, a college kid being crazy, and I was really into Star Wars toy collecting. And you can see I got a Mandalorian helmet back behind me. I'm still a big Star Wars fan, but I had a big collection of all the Star Wars toys from my childhood from the 80s. And so I built a webpage all about collecting those toys.
Wow.
At the same time, I had just started going to powwows, and I had friends that were teaching me how to make my first outfits and, all of the stuff about that. So I built some pages about that because it was fun. I was learning it and it's really exploring that. So I built some pages about that information that I was being taught. And that one kind of took off. The other one is actually still out there in the same form it was in 1996-ish. It's still out there. I keep it just as a little fun thing. But yeah, one site started getting traffic, the other did not.
Ah, I see. Interesting. So where did the need or the want of building a community come about?
Yes. So from the very beginning of putting those pages out and people starting to visit them, it was really from the demand of the people that, I was getting so many messages and emails and things from people, and they wanted to they already felt kind of a sense of togetherness because it was people that went to powwows, and a lot of people that I knew from the Southeast kind of was on the website. So there was already this feeling of camaraderie, and people wanted to take that feeling and be online. So in between powwows, they could still kind of have that community feeling. So it was really a demand from the audience. So we threw up some, I remember using free software back then and putting up some forums so that people could actually make posts and talk back and forth. And that's really where the community began. It was from the demand they had, and they wanted that feeling and wanted to engage with each other and ask questions and, share photos, all that kind of stuff. And it really grew from there. And for the first maybe 10, 15 years of powwows.com, we were a forum website. That's what our focus was, is, all user generated content. We had, big, massive forums with, thousands of posts every day. And that's really how we got started, was because people wanted to take what they experienced at powwows and they wanted to bring it online.
Oh, interesting. Okay. So it brings up a few questions now. First of all, you mentioned powwows a couple of times. For the sake of our audience, please explain what that is, what that means.
Yeah, so powwows are Native American celebrations. It's a festival. It's a way of the Native community coming together and celebrating. They do that through dancing, singing, crafts. Some powwows now are contest powwows. So you might go to one and the dancers and singers are competing against each other, or you may go to one that's just more traditional and it's just about the dancing and being together. They happen all over North America. There's one happening probably close to you somewhere. I highly encourage. They are open to the public. It is the best way for anyone to really experience Native culture in person. And so we have a calendar of events. There's probably one happening near you. Go check it out, powwows.com/calendar. It's a great thing to see and do it. And it is a complete immersion into Native culture, because like I said, you're going to see singing and dancing. You're going to have food and craft vendors, and it's going to be a complete experience of the culture.
Amazing. So wait, does that mean that you're now a professional dancer and singer too?
No, I did dance for a while, and that's kind of how I participated in powwows for a long time. Unfortunately, now when I go to powwows, I'm usually working and behind the camera or doing something like that. So unfortunately, I haven't danced in a long time. I miss it, and I want to get back to doing that. But now when I do travel to a powwow, I'm recording and live streaming and doing all of that stuff.
Okay. Oh, damn it. When I thought, oh my goodness, we're going to get a sample of that. Awesome. Now, going back to community building, this seems to be really a hot topic for all business owners now. Everybody wants to build a community.
Yes.
And so much has changed, right? Technology has grown so much. And so there's so many more different platforms that people can build communities. So back then, when you were building this community, what platform were you using?
The one that we spent the most time on was a forum software called vBulletin. And our vBulletin site is still out there, and we still have, a few hundred people that visit, that have been a member of the site for, more than a decade. And that's still where they like to go. And the community is such a is such a buzzword right now, and everybody wants to have one. Yeah. And one of the first things I like to tell people that are wanting to build community is community is not about the platform. Community is about the group of people that you are attracting to your brand, your messaging, whatever. And you need to treat everybody however they interact with you, whether it's email or a Facebook page or a Facebook group, or however, they are all part of your community. And if you treat them all as part of the community, then it will build regardless of the platform you're trying to use.
Okay. So I've got some juicy questions around building the community, right?
Yes.
Because people just think as easy as having a Facebook group and people will come, the community will just build automatically and you don't have to do much, right?
Yes.
And it might be the case eventually, but in the beginning, it's still a lot of work. You've got to get people, I guess, trained to really use the community. And so what kind of methods did you use to really build the engagement up within yours?
Right. In the beginning, like I said, it was really the demand from the community and they helped build it. But when we were first starting out, whether it's with our Facebook group or way back when we were doing vBulletin, there's certain things that you as the business owner need to be doing. And especially in the beginning, you need to be there. You need to be present in the community, and not necessarily the one driving the conversations, but you need to be engaging with the people who are starting conversations. So you don't have to be the one that's making a new post every day, although that can help. But when somebody does post, you need to be in there engaging with them and talking with them. People are going to, especially in the beginning, they are going to associate the community with you, not necessarily your brand name or whatever. So you have to be the community in the beginning. Now, for me, my Facebook group and things we have now, there's probably people in that Facebook group that don't even know who I am. And I'm okay with that. And eventually you can step back, right? But in the beginning, you have to be there. You have to be present. And, one of the lessons I learned early on is not only do you have to be present, but you have to be yourself. So when I first started the whole V Bulletin thing, I went a few years and my username was Webmaster, right? And when I would make posts, people sometimes would engage, but especially if they knew me, maybe, but new members really didn't engage with me. And it wasn't until one of my moderators pointed out, it's like, Paul, when you post, people think you're like this robot or an overlord or just some, admin that runs the website. They don't know who you are. So it was it was because of that moderator. I changed my username to Paul G. I started talking very personally and being, myself in the forum. And that made a huge difference in the way people interacted with me and the way they interacted with the whole site. And it's funny because I changed my name to Paul G. There are still people who come up to me at powwows or when they see me and they don't know me as Paul Gowder, they know me as Paul G. So it's kind of fun that's kind of how, because I was so, personal and made that change, it really has resonated with people for years.
Fantastic. Oh my goodness. Now, you have seen, right, how I guess building communities have changed. Actually, in fact, has building communities changed at all in any way since you started, or is it still exactly the same?
The platforms have changed dramatically, right? And now we're faced with algorithms, and our messaging is dependent on really the whims of billionaires, right? And how they want what messages they want to show up. In the old V Bulletin days, when I made a post, everybody that logged in could see that post, right? So that part has changed. But I think the way you operate and the way you grow your community hasn't changed, and it's still, show up, figure out what it is, what is that purpose, what is the thing that unites your community, and build your community based on that. And one of the things, going back to that whole we're at the whim of billionaires, what I tell people now is, if you're building a community, forget about trying to use Facebook and all these other platforms. The place you should focus and first build your community is on email, because you control it, you run it, and build your community on email, then worry about growing it on some social media platform.
Oh, that is interesting. You don't hear that very often at all. People are like, go build your community, go build a tribe, go do a Facebook group. That is interesting. So, okay, so at what point, like, how big should your email be before you decide to then build a community elsewhere?
There's a couple of things I would say as far as when to build your Facebook or wherever you're going to build the group. I think that, opening up a group and it being empty and there's nothing happening, it can be super detrimental. So I would say you don't want to build it until you have kind of critical mass of activity, whether that's people posting on your Facebook page, whether that's people replying to your emails. When you see that there is conversations, regardless of where they're happening, and there is a want to continue those conversations, then that's when you probably need a group or some other place. I think you would be better served spending time figuring out who your audience is, maybe segmenting your email list into different groups and figuring out what those individual groups need, deliver messaging in your email to those groups. That will help really spark more conversation. It'll solidify them into a tighter group. Then you can maybe move to a Facebook group or something like that. But I see so many people starting a Facebook group and there's absolutely nothing in there. And if you're just the admin in there posting a message every day and there's no replies, when I join that community or that Facebook group, why am I going to stay? Right. I'm going to see that there's nothing happening. So you need to wait till you have a need for it before you just throw it out there.
Okay, I see. And so, What kind of, I guess, emails should you be sending out to get engagement? Because I think a lot of people, first of all, feel like, oh, email lists, they're dead. Email, people don't respond to email. I know and you know that's not the case, right? Email is really, really strong. And building your email list as part of a business owner, I mean, that's a core of your client base.
Right.
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 So go ahead.
Yeah. So what should people be sending? That's a great question. And going back to what I said, if you can segment your audience, if you can, so I'll use my website as an example. I have a lot of people that come to powwows.com that have never been to a powwow. They don't even know what it is, or they just know that maybe they saw that there's a powwow happening near them, or they've seen a little bit about Native culture on TV or in a movie, and they want to go and find out more about it, right? And so I've developed a whole email series for those folks, and it's what to expect at your first powwow. And it's 8 or 10 messages they get over the course of a week or so. And it guides them through, what is a powwow, what you need to, what can you wear, what can you bring, how do you act, what's the etiquette, what does all this stuff mean? Here's the structure of it, and here's some more places to go. Here's how you go find a powwow near you. That email sequence does so good. In fact, I got a message this morning and somebody wrote me and said, thank you so much. This is so well put together. It has led me through this whole process of figuring out what this is. I can't wait to go to my first one. I'm going to one in a couple of weeks, and you've really helped me know what to expect when I get there. So that's what you got to do is figure out, who your audience is, what information do they need that you can share with them, and really build these small segments and deliver targeted messaging to them. Of course, you can then build broadcast messages that you send to your entire list, and those are good. But I think it's really when you start niching down in email and segmenting out your audience, and you can deliver real personal messages to them, that's really what's going to build your list and help it. And I'll say too, when I write those emails for my segments and these different groups, I'm writing first person. I'm talking to them directly. I'm trying to talk to them one-on-one. I'm not saying, hey, everybody, those kind of things. I'm talking very direct. I'm telling them my experience. I'm being very open and personal with them, and it resonates, right? And I ask questions in those emails, and people write me back, and we're able to then have a conversation. And that's the kind of message that does so well in emails now.
And you mentioned something really important there that not many people do. A lot of people send out messages, send out emails, but they don't actually interact with their audience because they're not asking any questions. They're just making statements and,
Right.
Pitching or, and not really giving the audience a place to actually respond back to. And so having those questions, I mean, what kind of questions should you really be asking your audience? Is it to kind of dig on further data, seeing what they want? Is it just, social, being very social, what's going on in your world kind of thing? What kind of things should we really be focusing on?
You want to create questions in these emails that are going to first spark conversation. So in the first email I send in the what to expect at your first powwow, the one I kind of explain basically what is a powwow, and the last thing I say is, so what are you looking forward to the most? What is it that draws you to a powwow? I say, are you looking forward to the dancing, the singing, the food, the crafts? What is it that excites you about it? And I get dozens of messages back every day from people, responding to that email because they're excited, and they want to talk about it. So that's the first thing is figure out something that you can ask that's going to spark a conversation, that's going to spark somebody hitting reply. Because again, once you can start that conversation, you can engage with them one-on-one. They're going to be more engaged with your content going further. And that's what you want, right? You're wanting to build people that are going to read your messages and read your emails and click on your links. And they have to be, identify with you to do that. Other things I ask are, and maybe I do the same thing in my broadcast messages. I'll ask people timely questions. It was back to school a few weeks ago. So I asked a question in one of my emails that went to everybody. It's like, hey, I just dropped my daughter off. She's starting her sophomore year in college. What grade is your children starting if you're doing the back to school thing? It wasn't really a question about my niche or, about the whole powwow topic, but it was just a way to engage with the reader and get them to respond to me. And that was fun. We had a lot of people respond and talk about, maybe they were dropping off their kid for the first time in kindergarten, or they were dropping off their senior for the last year of high school. It was, again, just a way for me to talk to the audience. And that, to me, that's what I like to do, is just figure out ways that we can engage with each other.
I love that. I really love that. Now, I know at this point, there's some people that are listening, they're probably thinking, oh my God, Paul, that sounds all great, but I'm not a writer. I'm not a copywriter. I don't know how to write engaging emails or messages. So, what would you suggest to someone that's new that wants to do this, but really has no idea where to start?
Yeah. And I struggle with the same thing. I'm not a great copywriter either. I'll tell you a few things that I have done over the years. So I have an email sequence, probably even more popular than my What to Expect is I have an email sequence called my Throwback Thursdays. And all it is highlighting an article on our site, because we have so much content, that you as the reader maybe didn't see. So I hired a virtual assistant to build a year's worth of emails that basically are, hey, here's an article that you may not have seen. Here's a picture from it. Here's an excerpt from it. Click here to read more. Then I go in and I write just 1 or 2 sentences at the beginning of that email. So if it's like, for example, I interviewed Taboo from the Black Eyed Peas several years ago on a podcast. So maybe if it's an article about that, I might write in there, hey, are you a fan of the Black Eyed Peas? You ever listen to their music? Did you know that Taboo is Native American? And you might want to go listen to this interview. And that's all I do, right? Just a couple of sentences at the beginning, and the rest of it was done by a virtual assistant. And we do that about once a year. We try to update those emails as, other articles become more popular. So that's one. I've also hired some writers to help me develop a whole series of emails, and then I go back in and customize it. And I've been experimenting too with ChatGPT writing my emails. They're not. Yes.
I was wondering how long it was going to take before someone put that up.
Yes, and it's not the end all, right? But it is a great starting point to at least get an outline of what you want to say. And I'll tell you, so like I said, I struggle with copywriting, especially anything longer than an email. I really struggle with. We recently did a trip to San Francisco, and the purpose of the trip, we had Taylor Swift tickets. But while we were there, we tried to do a few other things. And so we went to Alcatraz because it was the 50th anniversary of the Native American occupation of Alcatraz. A whole nother topic, sorry. And then we went to Muir Woods, which was also the home of a tribe hundreds of years ago. So I took those 2 things, and I wanted to make an article about how you can find Native culture when you're traveling as a family on vacation. That is longer than that is not something I can write well or quickly. It would take me a really long time. So I had ChatGPT write the article for me. And then I went in and added my personal feel to it and edited it. My wife read it a couple of days later, and she's like, oh, that article was so good. I'm like, oh, really? So, I mean, those kind of things, it works, right? We have the technology now, so use it. Just don't use it as the end result. Use it as a way to get to your end result.
Right. Absolutely. Absolutely. And I love that. And I totally agree with that. Now, with so many different platforms where you can actually build a community, what would you suggest, in your experience and your knowledge, is the best platform to actually start a community? Apart from the email, right?
Right.
Where else would be the best place?
I think you need to start your community and build your community where you see your audience. So as you start playing with different social medias and you're doing posts on TikTok and Instagram Reels or whatever, Facebook, wherever you're seeing engagement, that's probably where your audience is, and focus on building there. While I think people should experiment with all the social media platforms, I don't think you need to be spending equal time on all of them. If one of them, if you're posting on Instagram every day and you're getting nothing, but when you post on Facebook, you get 100 likes, well, your audience is on Facebook. So start spending more of your time there and build your community there. That's where they are. You want to have as a low barrier of entry as you can for your community. You don't want to try, if your community is engaging with you on Facebook, you don't want to try to make them go over to Mighty Networks or some other off platform place to be the community, because when you start putting barriers, they're not going to do it, right? You have to engage where they are. And maybe you find out that you have audience on Facebook and Instagram. Okay, great. So engage with them in both places. Again, community is not dependent on platform. You can have a community that spans multiple platforms. Just engage with them where they are.
I love that. Okay. See, a lot of people I feel like are pushed to go and start a group in Facebook, right? That
Yes.
seems to be the place to do that. But you're saying, no, actually take a minute, stop. Where are people at? Where are they engaging with? And start the community there. That's the next spot after email, right?
Right.
So that's
Yes.
really, really insightful because you don't hear that very often, Paul,
Yeah.
right?
Everybody thinks that starting a Facebook group is the way to go.
Yeah.
And Facebook has put a lot of attention on groups, and I think it can be an incredible platform. But again, if you're getting lots of messaging on TikTok, then that's where your community is.
Mhm.
Engage with them there, right? Maybe if you're seeing good engagement over on TikTok, maybe you want to start doing some lives where you can engage more directly with the community. Maybe you want to start doing some things like that. Again, engage with them where they are. Don't try to force them somewhere else.
Yeah, and one of the things I'm really hearing from you is, look, just take it step by step, right? Start with
Yes,
emails, see which platform you're getting engagement, right? Then start doing lives, right? You don't necessarily have to go straight into Facebook, build a community, bring people in, and then start stressing about content because you don't know what to put up, right?
right.
Take it step by step, right? And eventually your community will grow.
Right, right. And again, like experiment. Maybe you're going to be a Threads community, and that's okay too, right? There's new things out there. Who knows where it's going to be? But when
Yeah,
you try to, and here's we go back to the algorithm thing, right? If you
right.
are trying to force people on TikTok to click on a link in your bio and join a Facebook group, none of those platforms like you doing that, right? And they're going to prevent you or try to make it difficult for your viewer to do that. So stop trying to do that. Again, once you get to a certain critical mass and you have hundreds and thousands of people clicking on your profile, sure, you can start directing people to certain places. But in the beginning, just engage where they are. Don't try to force somebody to go somewhere else. If they're there, then talk to them there.
Okay, I like it. I like it. And so I want to take us to a slightly different kind of path, right? A
Okay.
little bit controversial here,
Mm,
right? Everyone's got different opinions about this, but I'm hearing a lot of business owners saying, like they can't be authentic, they can't just be themselves because they've got to be careful of what they're saying because a lot of these platforms shut accounts down. And all of a sudden, this community that you've built, you've lost. And so, do you think it is a wise choice to use these platforms or to build your own platform where you have 100% control?
So your foundation, and this is I preach this to everybody I talk to. Your
Hmm.
foundation should be email. That should be the basis of your community. That should be where you are directing people to be your home, because
Ah,
you're never going to lose that, right? Now, again, we don't know how these things are going to react, and we can all get canceled. We can all get shadow banned, and all these things that happen. Yes, it can. It was maybe 3 or 4 months ago. All of a sudden, my Facebook page got demonetized, and I still don't know why. Facebook never responded to me. I opened multiple tickets, but they just turned it back on. Still don't know what happened, but I lost like 3 days of revenue.
oh,
Who
wow.
knows? And that kind of stuff can happen. So yes, use the platforms, right? But always, if you're going to try to direct somebody off platform, direct them to email. And once you have them there, if something happens and you do lose your Facebook page or your group gets, you know, turned off or whatever can happen on these things, you can at least you have your email to then rebuild or just go back to it and use that as your base.
Do you know what? That to me is the biggest golden nugget, right? No one says this, and you're absolutely right. If you have them in your email list, doesn't matter what happens with the technology, right? You've got them there, you can get them back, you can still communicate with them. Oh my goodness, Paul, that was just mind blowing right there. That is amazing.
And here's how I'll give you something people will love it when I tell them this. Here's a tool that I highly recommend. There's a couple of different tools that do the same thing,
Mhm.
but for Facebook groups, you can ask people questions when they join your group, right?
Mhm.
You can ask them for their email address.
That's
Why
right.
not? And there are tools. I use one called Group Leads that will then automatically take those emails and put them into your email system.
Wait, hold on. Automatically.
Yes.
Automatically. Because I know
Yes.
people do this manually.
Yes. So yeah,
I do it manually.
yeah, there are several different ones. I use group leads. And so what happens is when you approve the person, it a automation kicks off and it will take that email and put it into your system.
Oh my goodness. I am so going to check that out. Right. And I suggest everyone that has a Facebook group. Is it just Facebook group that it works on, or other platforms?
I believe so. I only use it on Facebook groups, but it may
Okay.
work other places.
Guys, check it out. Oh my goodness. Like, that's going to save you ample amounts of time if you can
Yes.
automate that. Right. Fantastic. Awesome. Paul, oh my, I feel like I can speak to you all day long. Right? It was amazing having you on here, but I know at this point people are thinking, I need to get hold of Paul. I need to understand how his brain works and all these different resources and tools. So if they want to connect with you, where do they go?
I'd love to talk more with you. If you're wanting to build your email or community, please reach out. paulgowder.com. You can find all the ways to get a hold of me there. I'd love to talk with you and help you build your community.
Fantastic, guys. I suggest that you get hold of Paul ASAP, because the amount of golden nuggets he's already dropped in this short amount of time. What can he do for you if you actually connect with him, get on a call? He can change your business, your communities around. Oh my goodness. Now, Paul, if there was one last thing that you wanted to mention to our audience, what would that be?
I just remind people, as you're starting wherever you are in your business process, make sure you have a strong foundation. Build out that email list. Really focus there. Build out your segments. Know who your audience is. Build messaging for them, and use that as really the base of how you build your business, your community, and your whole brand.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Paul, once again. So many golden nuggets in such a short amount of time. You are amazing. Oh my God. Thank you for coming onto the show.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to Make Your Mark podcast at www.makeyourmarkpodcast.com. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you get this and every other episode that comes out. We have lots of great stuff coming, so make sure you hit subscribe so you don't miss it. And thank you in advance for all the reviews and comments. I appreciate it so much, and I look forward to serving you in next week's episode.